Hey everybody, it's EJ from eyedesyn.com, and today we're going to be making gummy textures. So I got my little gummy bear that I modeled here, and if you want to see the 2 hour long process of me modeling this gummy bear, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. So I'm going to post it up on there. I'm not going to bore you guys with the 2 hour live stream of how I made this. But if you want to like zoom through it, just go on the YouTube channel. I'll post it in the description of this tutorial. But basically, what we're going to be doing today is making this nice gummy bear texture, and just basically walking you through how I textured this guy. So here's my little bear. It's not the best thing in the world. It's not the best job I've ever done on a modeling project, but let's start texturing this guy. So let's just make our gummy bear texture. So I'll just make a new texture. I'm just going to apply it. Boom. Let me go to my ground shading, or however you pronounce that. I'm going to turn on interactive render region by hitting Option R. If you don't know how to go to interactive render region, it's right there in the render options here too. And this just gives you a good idea of how this looks while you're working with the texture. So you can do that, or you can always see how things look in this little view here. So we can do a little bit of both. So what we're gonna do is first I'm gonna make that nice little orangish kind of texture. So I'm gonna get a nice orange hue. But basically, what you can do more to add more color vibrance in here is use a Fresnel. And instead of using black and white, we can use different shades of like our orange color. So we can have like this light orange or yellow, and get more of a like orange, like a darker orangey color. So we got yellow to orange, and it just gives a nice little shade. It's a little bit more interesting than just yellow. We can flip this if we'd like, because that makes more sense if it's darker around the edges. So I'll do that. I'm going to copy this, go into the luminance, and paste it. So we give it just a little bit of luminance here. Just go put this on multiply. And there we go. And then the major thing is going to be this transparency, right? So transparency is going to be where we get this nice gummy kind of thing going on. And right now, you can't see a whole lot because it's 100% transparency. So what we can do is bring this down a little bit. We can even change this to a different kind of color, so we can get a little bit of yellow in here and just kind of play around with this stuff. The main thing that is going to really play a part, and what I'm going to do here is just make sure we don't have this this black background. I'm going to right click. This is the little handlebar, that this little arrow that adjusts the quality of interactive render region. I'm going to right click on it and check on alpha mode, just so we can see behind it and see our work plane grid and all that. Two major things that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're making this gummy texture is the refraction. So refraction has a lot to do with how things work or how things look. So if I up this, you can even see in this sphere what's going on. And what you can do is change, and I'm just right clicking on this window. And another thing that will help you out is choosing a new default or a new object for your material preview, just to kind of see, so you can kind of see through this, but we also want to see how things overlap. So I like to go with a knot, so you can see how things look as it overlaps other things. So you can kind of go through here and see what works best, or like a double knot here, that looks kind of good. But you can also see from this viewport how everything looks. So the refraction is going to be a huge thing. And what I found is that if you jack this up enough, and I had a little, I have some reference images of like what a gummy bear looks like that I can pull up here. And you can see right here how you can't really see through it too much. Like this image is really good here. How it's so blurred and so distorted that you can't even really see like that red gummy bear through this light yellow or light green, whatever color this is. Everything's very distorted because there's so much gel distortion that as you're looking through, as light's passing through. There's so much distortion. So keeping that in mind, usually you want to use like a higher refraction value just so you start to get that really, you can see how much distortion's in there. So let's just kind of play around here. And let's say like something like this. Maybe let's do just a solid 2. And then what I'm going to do here as well is get a gradient in here. And just like we did to kind of make it a little bit more interesting with different shades and stuff, I'm going to copy this Fresnel and paste it into this texture. I'm also going to hit additive, and this is really going to brighten everything up. I'm also going to go and change this mix mode of the Fresnel with the color to add. And we can bring this down, or let's see. Let's let the one last thing. You can see that we can't see through this too well. So let's actually turn that back to that. Bring the brightness up a little bit. But another major, let me just turn this off altogether. Another major thing that's going to really help with the transparency is this absorption color. So basically this distance is how much of the color is going to be absorbed through this thing. If I turn off the additive, you can really get a sense of what's going on here. I change this color to like this orangish yellow. You can see that that color is going to be primarily the thing that you're going to be seeing because it's absorbing all that kind of color, that hue of color into this object. And as I increase this distance, you're going to get less of that color. So if you really want a vibrant kind of transparency, you want to bring this color down. You can see how this color is really getting brought through here. So maybe something like 60, and we can bring back that that Fresnel for now, and put add back onto it, and bring down the brightness here, because you can see that we're now seeing through this a lot better. And you can start to see we got some really nice distortion, some nice hues, some nice color happening. And again, if I bring this all the way down, we're getting darker colors because less light is coming through, and we're getting more of that color being represented in our transparency. You can kind of play around with the color absorption. So these two things, the refraction, the absorption color, is going to be the two things that really drive how well your gummy texture is going to look. And we can do additive again here and really start playing around with stuff. You can see how if I bring the absorption distance up, we're getting brighter colors. And as I bring this down, it's getting a little darker. And you can barely see through it because of that absorption distance so shallow. It's almost like a thick wall. So, you know, that's how gel is. It's like a thick surface that you can't really see well through very well, as you can see, as you saw in that reference image. So let's actually give this a different kind of darker hue just to change things up a bit. Maybe lighten this up a little bit. That's looking good. Maybe darken this. You can see this is just going to like darken the color of our object's transparency. So now we can move on to the reflectance and start playing around with stuff in here. So we have the default specular. Let's keep it like that. Let's make a little more specular. Maybe make a sharp specular. We want some really nice shiny sharp specularity going on. Maybe give this specular color like a little yellow hue. And of course, we need some reflection to make everything really nice and shiny. And you're going to notice that that just totally blocks everything out. And the reason for that is we need to change this attenuation to additive. We can actually add on the reflection here. Turn the reflection, the specular down. Maybe give it a little bit of roughness to blur the reflection there. And let's change this to conductor, and we can choose a preset here. And really, we can choose like a gold kind of preset because we're dealing with a yellowish, orangish reflection. So that gold preset works pretty dang good. And we can also change the color to something a little orangish as well, just a little bit orange. There we go. So the last thing we can do here is go into our, actually, I skipped over something here, but I'll go back to it. Diffusion. You notice with gummy bears, you know how we have this nice blurriness, and you can, hopefully you can kind of see, if I open up this image, there's all these little bumps, all these little imperfections, little organic imperfections. So I want to get that and add that to our model. And how I'm going to do that is by going into the diffusion and using some noise to bring that kind of organic bumpiness, those organic imperfections, by bringing some noise in here. Just choosing any kind of noise, and again, if you click on this, you get a full look at what kind of noise, what all these noises look like. I'm going to use sparse convolution, and this is just going to be a very subtle accent. So you can see our global scale on our noise is very huge right now. So I'm just going to do something like 0.1 and wait for that to update. And it's going to be such a small, subtle thing. But you can see how small our noise is. But really, the noise on these bears are fairly small as well. So you just want something to kind of break up the perfection that is, 3D. You want to make it a little bit more imperfect. And speaking of making it a little bit imperfect and more organic, is we're going to add some bump in here. And we're going to enable it. And just like we added some noise for the in the diffusion, we're going to get some big noise instead of some small noise. Get some really big noise in here, so maybe like 1,000. And you can see now everything's kind of slowing down here. And one thing that's going to help us out here is let's actually bring the quality down. I'm gonna when you have reflection and you have refraction and stuff like that, the one thing that's really gonna help this is bringing in some HDRIs and giving this object something to number one, have something to reflect and something for it to refract. So what we're gonna do is bring in the HDRI Studio, Grayscale Gorilla HDRI Studio. And immediately, well, if you didn't have the floor cutting right through them, I'm going to turn off the floor. I'm going to turn off the background. Well, let's actually keep on the background. We'll keep the background on, and I'll make sure we don't have the alpha mode. So we actually see that white gradient background by default. And just with the default HDR file, this 3 boxes studio, you can see how much just adding that the HDRI to the scene for this object to refract, to reflect, really sells that whole gummy bear kind of look. So as we go further with this, we're going to start running into rendering issues. So it kind of makes it difficult to do a tutorial about it when I make a change, like, the one thing that's really going to help out, and if I bring up this reference image, is you can almost see through this a little bit too clearly, and you can see how much blur is in here. So blur is going to be that thing that you might want to add, but just for the sake of a tutorial, adding blur, especially to, reflection. So if I have the reflection here and I add a bunch of roughness to this, we're really going to start running into render issues. And, it's just, like I said, it's really not conducive to a tutorial format. Now, if I had Octane, that would be a different story. But I'm just using standard renderer right now. But basically, the one big thing to get that blurriness through the reflection is by going through and enabling this blurriness transparency. Now, usually you never ever touch this because the render hit is so massive. But what I can do is maybe just give this very low values, like really, really low values, and see if you can even tell the difference of just adding a nice little blur. Let's see how this renders. I don't know. Let's crank this up and let's see if we can really notice. When I did a practice run through so you can kind of see all this noise coming through, and that actually looks pretty good. If I crank this up, let's see if I can crank this up a little bit more. Even this like low, noisy kind of blurriness actually helps with the whole organic kind of thing. But this is basically what you want to do. It adds that nice fuzziness to the transparency that you have going on in here, how you can see through, but it's so blurred and so distorted. But again, the render hit is fairly massive, so just keep that in mind when trying to create a gummy texture, that you want to bring this blurriness up and probably crank up these min and max values, because it does help with that whole the whole blurriness of everything behind it. So so you can mess around with how much reflection you got through, how much imperfection was in that gel, or how much cloudiness was in that gel that created these little gummy objects, or this little gummy bear dude here. So that's kind of all up to your creative input, or whatever colors you want to put in here. Maybe the absorption color is a little darker orange or something like that. So you can see how that totally makes everything else darker, which you might like. So you can see how we're getting this nice amber kind of. This almost looks like, this reminds me of the Jurassic Park, a little piece of amber on that dude's stick. Spared no expense on this tutorial. But yeah, so this is the starts or the beginnings of how to get a gummy bear texture or a gel texture. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and again, I wish I had Octane because this would be much faster. But for those of you who don't, this is very helpful for you guys. So we turn on the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, if you want to see let me just turn on physical renderer here while I'm talking. And if you want to see the breakdown of how I modeled this gummy bear, again, I'm going to post it in the link, or in the tutorial description of the YouTube video. So be sure to check that out. It's 2 hours long, so be prepared. Definitely want to fast forward through it. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the comments section. And if you make your own gel material, be sure to share it. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye, guys.